lesson this morning will be taken from the letter of Paul to the Ephesians, chapter 3, 14 to 21. Ephesians 3, 14 to 21. For this reason, I bow my knees before the Father, from whom every family in heaven and on earth is named, that according to the riches of his glory, he may grant you to be strengthened with power through his Spirit in your inner being, so that Christ may dwell in your hearts through faith, that you, being rooted and grounded in love, may have strength to comprehend with all the saints what is in the breadth and length and height and depth, and to know the love of Christ that surpasses knowledge, that you may be filled with all the fullness of God. Now, to him who is able to do far more abundantly than all that we ask or think, according to the power at work within us, to him be glory in the church, in Christ Jesus, through all generations, forever and ever. Amen. This is the end of the reading.
As we take the next hymn, Patient Samuel 459, we will also collect our offering and prepare ourselves to hear the word of the Lord.
the time of the morning for all of my brothers and sisters in Christ. I feel good this morning. As I said, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
As I said, sir, I couldn't help but think about somebody by the name of James, last name of Brown. Somebody I used to listen to on the radio and on records to make us feel good. You know, last Sunday, as I sit on the altar, knowing that I was supposed to be the speaker today, and listening to Pastor Goodson in his message to us last Sunday, I couldn't help but alter all of my thoughts that I wanted to bring to you today, all that I had studied and all that I had planned on saying. As he talked to us last Sunday, I had a shift in my thoughts. I want to share with you that every day, Monday through Sunday, before I come to services on Sunday, I look at seed in the news station, and it's supposed to give us all of the happenings throughout the whole world. And as I listen to the news every day and thinking about the lesson that we have today, part of what I'm going to share with you relates to what we listen to almost every day. I'm also going to share with you, before we start, that normally we don't have a gospel lesson, but I'm going to have a gospel lesson today because it lends itself to everything that's taking place long about this part of the year. John, 6th chapter, beginning with the 4th verse. Now the Passover, the feast of the Jews, was at hand. Lifting up his eyes then, and seeing that a large crowd was coming toward him, Jesus said to Philip, "Where are we going to buy bread so these people might eat?" He said this to test him, for he himself knew what he was going to do. Verse 7, Philip answered him, 200 denarii worth of bread will not be enough for each of these to give them a little. One of his disciples, Andrew, Simon, Peter's brother, said to him, "There's a boy here who has 5 loaves and 2 fish, but what are they for so many?" Verse verse 10, Jesus said, have the people to sit down. Now there was much grass in the place. So the men sit down about 5,000 in number. Jesus then took the loaves, and when he had given thanks, he distributed them to those who were seated. So also the fish, as much as they wanted. And verse number 12. And when they had eaten their fill, he told his disciples, gather up the leftover fragments, that none may be lost. The word of the Lord. I want to use as a theme, putting all of our lessons together today, the miracle of the loaves. As I listened to the pastor last week, I heard him say, searching for the Lord. He said it several times. And one of those times, he touched my mind. And this is when I knew I was going to have a shift in what I wanted to talk about. We're going to start with the epistle lesson for today. And that epistle lesson expresses complete confidence in God's unsurpassed love. The writer bows in reverence to God, from whom every family in heaven and on earth takes his name. The prayer goes on to ask for the spiritual power that comes from the indwelling of God's Spirit through faith, grounded in love, to be able to comprehend the breadth, the length, the height, and the depth of this love is more important than acquiring knowledge itself. Through this love, we may be filled with all the fullness of God, which is the ultimate goal of life. The final two verses that were read in that epistle is a doxology that reflects the gospel miracle by giving power to the power of God, which is able to accomplish abundantly far more than all we can ask or imagine. The Old Testament lesson today is the one that struck me the most, the one that puts us into what's taking place in our world today. This is the first reading of two readings that tell the pivotal story of King David and Bathsheba. David has been portrayed as an untarnished hero who enjoyed the favor of God. But this account of adultery and murder shows David's abuse of power. As the story opens, David sent his general Joab to command Israel, who commands Israel's army, while David himself stayed in Jerusalem. During this time, David had an affair with Bathsheba, the wife of Uriah, the Hittite, one of the soldiers in David's army. When Bathsheba sent word to David that she was pregnant with his child, David acted quickly to cover up the situation by having Joab send Bathsheba's husband back to Jerusalem. David's plan was for Uriah to spend the night with his wife so that David would not be suspected of being the father of the child. However, as we listen to the lesson today, soldiers on active duty were not to have sexual relations with their wives. During this particular time in verse 8 of our reading, it says something about wash your feet. I looked and researched, and I went to Genesis 18:4 to get my answer. Uriah, being a conscientious man, did not go home as David encouraged. When his plan failed, David resorted to more desperate measures. He gave Uriah a letter to deliver to Joab, commanding Joab to send Uriah in the heaviest fighting without support, that he would be killed. Those of us that have been in the military and had the opportunity to be in combat, you know that the commanding officer is supposed to be behind the line and sending his troops out to do the fighting. But this is a Marine that's speaking to you today. And the Marines always said, come on, men, let's go and take this hill. I see myself in Uriah's place, although he was being tricked to do this. The Marine Corps would not have the officer to go out and be out there alone. Someone would be there to protect him. But as I read this story this morning, and throughout last week and the week before, that didn't happen as I read the lesson. Here, cutting through the chase, David misused his power for selfish gain. As the Lord anointed, he had granted God's victory. Yet it is the soldier Uriah, a Hittite, a mercenary, who exemplifies loyalty and honesty. The case can be made that David acted to protect Bathsheba from the charge of adultery, punishable by death, according to the Mosaic law that we will find in Leviticus, the 20th chapter, in the 10th verse. Nonetheless, David became increasingly estranged in his own web to deceit and lies, and he tries to cover up his misdeeds. The story of Uriah the Hittite. Makes me very angry. Why? Because I related it to what I listened to on C in every day. And if you listen to the news, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I just ask the Lord to just set that aside and let me move forward with what He would have me to do at this time. We all are human. I realize that. I'm human. You're human. David was human also. The description of David lusting after Bathsheba from the roof of his castle is disturbing. The whole incident is problematic, but sadly sounds too close to be born. It's the story we need to remember for just reasons. Again and again, we say a whole lot has changed so far as what deep passions and very possibly cultural mores allowed this to happen in David's time. While deep passions is a front from which great creativity and great love flow, it can also be the place where passion destroys love in order to satisfy sinful inclination. This story highlights the objectification of a woman Bathsheba's body as an object that David desired. As king, he could command her presence, and that she lied with him. I wonder if she was surprised and resigned to her plight and how she felt when Uriah did not come home. Women today are still fighting objectification and equality. They were demeaned and beaten for trying to get the vote. Business women, as well as actresses, has been subject to powerful men demanding sexual favors in exchange for advancement. Male and female children suffer horribly at the hands of those who supposedly give their lives to God in the service of the church. Whom do we blame when we hear these stories? Whom do we blame when we hear these stories? Our God is too small and too distant. Do you remember Betty Miles' hit song, From a Distance? I was intrigued that it was so popular with so many Christians because it struck me as an insipid hymn to a disinterested God. Its simplest refrain summarizes its lackluster faith. God is watching us. God is watching us. God is watching us from a distance. Apparently, a lot of us believe in a remote facet in merely observant God. This faraway God doesn't come close enough to nourish and sustain us. Instead, this God enlightens us about how to fend for and feed ourselves. Rather than being bread of life for our hungry hearts, this God is like a report from the agriculture department about anticipated wheat production. A small and distant God gives us feeling overwhelmed by change and threatened by its emptiness. Thankfully, as Paul's prayer to the Ephesians Christians reminds us, we don't have a small and distant God. The God revealed to us in the history of Israel and in the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ is magnificent, mysterious, and mighty. The gospel reading for the next 5 Sundays shift from Mark to the bread of life discourse in John 6, beginning with today's account of the feeding of 5,000. As the fourth of John 7 signs, chapter 2, 7 through 11. Jesus said to the servants, fill the jars with water. So they filled them to the brim. Then he told them, now draw some out and take it to the master of the banquet. They did so, and the master of the banquet tasted the water that had been turned into wine. He did not realize where it came from. Through the servants who had drawn water knew. Then he called the bridegroom aside and said, everyone brings out the choice wine first, and then the cheaper wine after the guests have had too much to drink. But they saved the best till the last now. When Jesus hid here in Cana of Galilee was the first sign through which he revealed his glory, and his disciples believed him. This is the first miracle that Jesus performed. In the Synoptic Gospel, we have the same information. But John is the only one that has this talk about the wine. The water being turned to wine. As the passage begins, the crowd continues to follow Jesus because of his healing of the sick. The text notes that it was near the time of the Passover. Near the celebration of the Passover and the feeding of 5,000 provide a connection with the Last Supper and its association with the Eucharist. I just have to check to see if I'm going too everybody tells me I'm long-winded. I said I wanted to be up to 25 minutes. I don't know why I do stuff, but I do look at my watch. Jesus has been seeking time alone for his disciples. But when he saw a large crowd that had traveled a long distance to see him, Jesus resolved to provide food for them. Thus he takes the initiative by asking Apostle Philip, how are we going to feed these people? This was said to test Philip, since Jesus already knew what he was going to do. Philip points out that 6 months' wages would be needed to buy enough bread to feed everyone. Andrew then calls attention to the fact that a bar in the crowd had 5 loaves and 2 fish. But what is so little when there's so much need? Although Philip and Andrew have been with Jesus from the beginning of his ministry, they have not learned to look beyond ordinary expectations and realize that Jesus will provide out what is at hand. The people are invited to sit down. The detail of a great deal of grass in the place. And another indication that it is springtime, the time of Passover. Jesus takes the bread, gives thanks, and distributes the food. Customarily, action of any Jewish meal, which also invokes the Eucharistic image. I'm going to skip a little bit. Because this miracle of feeding the 5,000 with such a little bit of food, this miracle leads people to see that Jesus, as the one who would fulfill their messianic expectation, so they went to make him their king, as they declared that Jesus is indeed the prophet who is to come into the world. But Jesus understood that temporal kingship was not the vocation prepared for God's Messiah. Jesus then withdrew to the mountains by himself, while the disciples set out across the Sea of Galilee for the return of the journey to Capernaum in the boat. It was dark at that time. And as the disciples and the people on the boat looked up, they saw Jesus approaching him, and he was walking on water. And as he got close to them, he said, "Don't be afraid." It's I. I'm going to ask us this morning, where do we stand when Jesus approaches us in regards to what the mission at hand is saying? I can't help but go back to something that I told the students in the confirmation class. All of us have a mission. Every one of us. That mission is to carry out that commission that God gave all of us. It is our job to receive the information. And after the information comes in, it is our job to go out and make additional disciples. I ask you this morning, where do you stand when it is time to challenge the ones that's in front of you and do what God wants us to do, rather than to push it aside and let someone else handle it? I know what I will do. I would hope that those that's close to me will walk with me. Like I said at the very beginning, I am a Marine, a proud one. And as I told the troops, let's take the hill. I didn't say, go take the hill. Let's go take the hill. Meaning, I am in front of you, leading the way. It is my job, your job, to make more disciples in the name of God the Father, and God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
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 We thank you, God,
Thank you, Jesus.
for being with us this morning. I didn't know that I would be able to stand this long, but I'm your servant. Kalada, thank you for being with me this morning. You don't know how much it makes me feel and how glad I feel on the inside to know that my second child that I fought just the time to be with her father this morning. Thank you, baby. That's a good one.
How sweet the sound.